Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ask Amity Show. And today we want to talk about the Family First Coronavirus Response Act. It's essentially employer paid leave requirements. So this came out recently, and it's effective April 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. So generally, the Act provides that covered employers must provide to all employees 2 weeks of paid leave, that's 80 hours, at the regular rate of pay when the employee is unable to work because they've been quarantined or experiencing COVID-19 symptoms or seeking medical diagnosis. Or 2 weeks, which is up to 80 hours of paid sick leave at 2/3 the employee's regular rate of pay because the employee is unable to work because of a bona fide need to care for an individual who is quarantined or experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, or whose child care provider is closed or unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19.
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of understand who the covered employers are. So this act applies to public and private businesses that have fewer than 500 employees. So that pretty much applies to most small business owners. And there is an exception. If you are a small business owner and you have fewer than 50 employees, you can try to file for an exemption to this rule. And it basically, you just have to disclose and explain how this may negatively affect your business, and it could be jeopardizing the viability of your entire business. So anybody who has fewer than 50 employees may pretty much opt out of this requirement, but you again have to show that paying these employees for the paid sick leave would jeopardize your business.
And in the event that you're one of the businesses that don't qualify to be exempt, you have to be very careful because your employee doesn't need to have COVID-19 in order for them to qualify for paid sick leave. And so, for example, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act listed out specific qualifications that requires non-exempt employers to provide paid sick leave. So for example, if the employee has been subject to a quarantine or they've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, those are some of the reasons to provide paid sick time for your employee. Another reason is if they're experiencing the symptoms, then you need to provide paid sick leave if they're seeking medical diagnosis. So during that time, they can request paid sick leave. Or if they're caring for a family member that does have coronavirus, then they can request time off. And another reason is if they are caring for a child whose school has been shut down or closed because of the coronavirus. That's another reason to give them paid sick leave. And there's this last thing in the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that says if they're experiencing any other substantially similar condition that's specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, then as an employer, you have to give them that paid sick time off if you're not one of the exempt employers. So be very careful when you're denying paid sick leave, because the laws are very strict, and it's for employers to follow to make the best type of work environment and flexibility for people affected by COVID-19.
So the main takeaway under this new rule is that if you are experiencing COVID-19 symptoms or experiencing similar illness, or you are taking care of someone who is experiencing similar symptoms related to COVID-19, then as a full-time employee, you're eligible for up to 80 hours of leave. And if you are taking care of a child whose school is being closed due to COVID-19, then you actually get up to 12 weeks of leave. And that's also paid. Now, how is it paid? So if you're either sick or taking care of someone for those 2 weeks, then it's going to be paid at your regular rate or the applicable minimum wage, whichever is higher, up to $511 per day. And if you are taking care of your child because the school is closed or the daycare center is closed, then you're going to be able to get 2/3 of your regular rate or 2/3 of the applicable minimum wage, whichever is higher, up to $200 per day and $2,000 in the aggregate over a 2-week period. Now, for reasons where you're taking longer, the 12 weeks, then you're going to get your 2/3 of your regular rate or 2/3 of the applicable minimum wage again, whichever is higher, up to $200 per day and $12,000 in the aggregate over the 12-week period.
Yeah, and then you can find a lot of this specific information under just searching the name Family First Coronavirus Response Act. It'll detail a lot of what we have discussed. And again, I know, although this is a route for employees, potentially to seek, it may burden a lot of employers from that perspective. And so there are, as we mentioned, certain employers that perhaps could try to explain that it's a significant burden that they cannot, pay these employees for the amount of time that this act requires. So if you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're Amity Law Group. We'd be happy to, explore the situation that you might you're in, and we can see, what avenues and what remedies we may potentially be able to suggest, and see if we can resolve this issue benefiting both employees and employers. All right. Yeah. So if please feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to help.